Hey everyone, I'm Cody.
And I'm Scott.
And we're back with another Talk With Maynard Podcast. The Talk With Maynard Podcast is a podcast about motivation, awareness, disabilities, world problems, and cars.
And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing traveling with a disability. The title of our podcast today is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
This podcast is all about my experiences and riding in vehicles. We will cover airline travel with a disability, car traveling with a disability, riding in trains, staying in hotels, and much more.
So let's get to the podcast.
Okay, we're going to start this discussion off with the need for a handicap van and the decision to buy a handicap accessible vehicle.
We've had our van for actually about going on 10 years now. We have a 2010 Dodge Grand Caravan. It's a rear entry van, and we bought it when we did because that's about the time that Cody got into the power chair, and we learned real quick that we're going to have the right vehicle to take that van or to carry Cody's chair around. Is what I mean.
We had a regular a Dodge Grand Caravan, like a 2007 or something.
2006.
2006 Dodge Grand Caravan without the entry, and we finally decided to get a power chair, and the van wasn't accessible, and we tried to use metal ramps to load the power chair into the back of a non-handicap accessible van.
And we didn't even actually load them in the back; we loaded them in the side, and you could do that, but it was not a feasible way. And after, at the time Cody got the chair, he was still a little more mobile. What's the word? Ambulatory?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
And anyway, that there's no way it would have lasted very long even at that, because Cody had to get out of his chair, get in the back seat of the van, and yeah, that just wasn't a good situation.
And then we had to load the chair in there, and there's no way we could do that without you there, and it just didn't work.
Yep. So we found a dealer and bought the van we lovingly call the War Wagon.
Yes, and you probably seen our van in one of my previous YouTube videos I did all about the War Wagon. We've had that van for I guess 10 years now.
And if you're listening to the podcast, just listening, go to YouTube, go to Project Maynard's thing, you'll find the video. You know, maybe this is where you put one of those links in there, the little thing. If you're actually watching it, so go watch the War Wagon video. It's really a good video. Cody did an awesome job.
I'll tell you what, we put that van through some stuff. That's why we call it the War Wagon. It's been anywhere and everywhere. We've done things with our handicap van that they tell you not to do with your handicap vans. So we've been everywhere with it.
And speaking of the van, like I said, our van's a rear entry van. There's a lot of decisions or things you want to think about when you buy a van. Or you don't necessarily have to buy a van. There's some pickup trucks now they make that are accessible. SUVs, small SUVs are accessible. Side entry vans, bigger vans, smaller vans. It just, I guess, depends on what your needs are.
And you gotta keep in mind that a handicapped vehicle is way more expensive than the base model of the car, because you get the vehicle and then they need to upgrade it to have a ramp and stuff, and that takes a lot of work. And it depends on what you're looking at getting. If you're looking at a truck, that's probably the most expensive way you can go, because it has to lift you up into the side of the truck. And SUVs are they're not necessarily more expensive, but you're definitely lacking space. The wheelchair takes up so much space in SUV that there's just not enough room for anything else.
And this has been our only accessible vehicle. The rear entry is nice because you can park anywhere. It's nice when you have the extra room for a handicapped spot, but you don't have to have one. The only the downfall there is because he's always in the very back of the van. No matter what, he's riding in the back. Now, let me take that back. Is the way we have our van set up, there's a lock that Cody's chair locks into. Now, if that wasn't there, technically, he could actually roll further up in the van. But you'd have to tie the chair down every time with 4 different ties.
And then no one else could ride in the van.
Yeah, no one else could ride then. So the rear entry makes it nice that you can park anywhere. The downfall is he's always in the back. And I think it cuts probably into the cargo room a little bit. A side entry, you might have a little more cargo room.
Yeah, I think if we got another van, I talked about it, maybe getting a side entry next time so I can sit closer to the front. And then in most side entry vans, there's access to the front too. You could actually have the passenger seat removed. I can sit right next to the driver. Because right now, with my physical abilities, I can't eat anything in the van. I can't drink anything in the van. I can't do anything like that. So I have to be sitting next to whoever's driving the van to get help with things. So there's pros and cons both ways. Side entry will be further up. You will have to find a handicap spot, and you'll have to pray nobody parks right on top of you. Yeah.
And also, I haven't really looked at the cost, but I know with a side entry, there's more moving mechanisms, so there's more things that could potentially go out and go bad. I mean, on our rear entry, there's a ramp, and it manually folds down. The biggest problem we've had was the spring broke on it, just from age. I put a spring on there. It's not quite as strong as it should be, so the ramp feels heavier. But I guess it comes down to your needs and what you can afford, and
it's really
what you want.
It's really up to you when it comes to that, and so that's really what it goes. The decision of getting a handicap van and why we got one and stuff. But I want to move on to Ugly Betty, our project car that is the face of this channel and stuff, and how great it's worked out for us. Ugly Betty is a convertible. Whenever we set out to look for a project car, we weren't looking at a convertible, and it didn't even cross our mind. But we ended up getting a convertible, and it worked out so good.
With getting Cody in and out of the car, I used to lift and move him in. Now we actually use a Hoyer lift. But if the car was just a regular coupe, just a regular hardtop car, lifting him in, I probably could because I've gotten him in his sister's car before. But now using the lift, which I don't even know if I could move him now. I don't think we could use a lift and get him in a conventional car.
No.
So the convertible makes it nice, and this one's a convertible. You could look at something that's like a T-top, where you have the 2 separate panes of glass, or maybe a Target top, like a Corvette, where the whole center section of the roof comes out.
You still don't have as much room. That
might work, but you still don't have as much room. So
yeah, and it's worked out really good for us, and getting me in is a lot easier than any other car.
Yeah.
And of course, having a project car, it's not a handicap vehicle, so there's definitely more steps that are involved, but it works. It's just not something you can do daily.
But if it's something that, in your situation, you may be thinking, hey, I'd like to have something, but man, there's just no way. Well, get the convertible and maybe, and check out the video. Once again, go to Project Maynard Stain. Go to the check out the channel trailer. Maybe another thing that you can link in this video. I don't know. If you're listening, just subscribe to Project Maynard Stain.
Yes.
Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the older videos. Check out the channel trailer. Check out the War Wagon video. Yeah. Check out all the videos.
And not only is Ugly Betty a convertible, but we recently decided to put a hitch on it and tow a trailer. We started using the lift with the car because a while back, Daddy, he I don't know what happened to him, but he got all funky.
Well, sciatic nerve happened to me, and I couldn't lift and move stuff for a while.
Yeah, you couldn't, and so we're trying to figure out a way to get around it, and we decided on the trailer. Actually, we decided on the trailer before you.
We had a trailer before, but
yeah, but we really started using it after that, and it worked good. And I can show you a picture of the trailer right now, but in the car with the trailer. But and Dad can explain to you everything we do to get in it.
Yeah, and once again, if you just watch that video, the Cody's trailer to the Project Maynard Thing channel, there's a time lapse video. But part of the trailer, though, on top of just making it easier for me to get Cody in and out, we would go to car shows. We put a manual wheelchair in the back seat of the car, which condensed things. We had to pull a trailer. But once we got to a car show or wherever we were going, Cody would have to sit in that manual wheelchair, and he had no freedom to move around himself. So we use a trailer number one to take Cody's power chair wherever we go. Number two, now we put the Hoyer lift in the trailer. Mm-hmm. But loading and unloading, maybe it's not still ideal. We carry a small jack because the car sits low. We can't quite get the lift underneath the car. So first thing we do is lift the car up just a little bit to get the lift underneath it. Get Cody in the Hoyer lift, positioned in the seat of the car. Seatbelt him in. Make sure he's comfortable. That we got to kind of put a couple of pillows here and there to make it as comfortable. Then past that, put ramps on the trailer. Put the chair in the trailer. Strap it down with some ratchet straps. The Hoyer lift comes apart in a couple different pieces. Put that in there around the chair. Make sure everything's strapped down, and we're good to go. And we just do a reverse procedure. We'll get where we're going. I mean, it takes a few minutes, but it's worth every minute of it because it's our thing. We go to the shows. Cody can go around, and people are pretty amazed when they see us do it. So.
Yeah, and there's one thing I wasn't going to bring up. Oh yeah, I can't bring that up. You gotta wait for that. I can't tell you what that is yet. So we'll just leave that there. I can't tell you. You have to wait for either my next Day in the Life video or the one after that. So
yeah.
Then that's on my YouTube channel. And I guess we'll move on to my experiences with air travel. We pretty much covered the inconveniences of traveling in a vehicle that's not accessible. So we'll just go and move on to the airplane.
Well, what we're gonna say on there. It's like I guess we pretty well did. If you don't have your chair, if it's more difficult to get in and out. There's a lot of things. So check out those videos though, and if you think you need a handicap accessible vehicle, explore all the options. There's a lot out there.
And now, like I said, moving on to airplane travel, and my experiences. I'll let Dad tell why we're in the airplane to begin with. But
so. I can't remember the exact year. I want to say 2010 or 11. It's been several years back now. Cody was selected to take part in a clinical trial for a drug to treat Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and the trial was being held at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. We took 3 separate trips to Columbus. My first trip was by plane. It was kind of an initial check for Cody to make sure he could participate. They needed to see him in person. They need to run some preliminary tests to make sure that this could happen. So we went up there for like 2 or 3 days, I think it was.
Yeah, there's no point in driving.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days. So they flew us up there. They put us in a hotel, so we went up there for that. The second time Cody actually got infusions. And we were up there for like almost 2 weeks. So we drove because we didn't want to not have our own vehicle. And I think we had the van at that point. And then we flew back up there for like 2 days because they had to take some blood and do some final stuff. And so anyway, we flew on 2 separate occasions.
Yeah.
And that was definitely an experience.
Yes. So, of course, we went to the airport. Well, let me back up a little bit. The first trip we took to Columbus, Ohio, they put us on a connecting flight from where to where. Where did we go? It wasn't like Georgia or something like that.
We can't remember.
Yeah, but I know it was a connecting flight, so we had to take 2 flights, each a couple hours apiece. So it wasn't that long, but so on those we were in smaller airplanes than some of them because of the connecting flight. But you show up at the airport and you have to go to your gate and stuff. And right when they're loading, they load everyone onto the airplane. Well, they let people with troubles and stuff go first, disabilities. So we went through the tunnel, to get into the airplane if you ever flew on a plane, which probably a lot of you have. But you go through the tunnel, and they made us wait in the tunnel because they actually have to put you in a separate chair to get you on the airplane. And it's a real narrow chair, and
they call it an aisle chair.
They call it an aisle chair. But long story short, that first time they made us wait. We waited in the tunnel forever, and they just never were able to get one of those chairs down there. I mean, they said they'd have it down there in a few minutes. By the time they got one, everyone else was loaded on the airplane, and they had to load me on the airplane with everyone else on there. And then what's bad about that is they had to put your power chair in the cargo. I don't think we took
the power chair at that point. I can't remember. I think you were in a manual chair.
Yeah, we put it in the cargo area. We definitely took my power chair. I remember that. At least one of those trips. But yeah, they put it in the cargo area. And so you're worried about that, them messing your chair up. And they put it in the cargo area. And then on the way home from that first trip, they never were able to get one of those transport chairs on the airplane. So they basically carried me onto the plane and put me in a seat. They had to actually carry me onto the plane after the plane was loaded with people and put me in the first class seating area.
I want to say that was in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was Atlanta. Yeah, it was Georgia.
There was maybe a connecting flight on the way back, I think.
Yeah, and that was a mess, So the second time we decided to go in the van.
Yep. And it's not like they're surprised. They, hopefully things have changed a lot. 'Cause that's the only time we've flown has been years and years ago. But they know that you're coming, that you have special needs.
They know
you need one of these aisle chairs. You need to, you need the special. They don't. Most of the time, they didn't have it. They were not prepared, and these aisle chairs are ridiculous. These little narrow chairs. They get you on the plane, and you still have to transfer into a regular seat. It was just, it was once you're on the plane, loaded in, it wasn't bad, but the on and off was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
they weren't ready.
And we can say from our experience, and that's what we decided on the third trip we flew in the airplane. Never, ever, ever fly Delta. Ever. Remember, we decided not to fly Delta. We said we're not going to do it again.
Yeah, Delta. I think American was also where we had a lot of trouble.
No, American Airlines is what we did the last trip. The first trip was all Delta.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember we decided not to fly Delta, especially if you're handicapped. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And don't do connecting flights because you already had to do it one time. Now you have to do it twice. So, yeah. So the last trip it went a little smoother. They still had trouble, but we did American Airlines and we did a straight through trip. We didn't do no connecting flights.
Yeah. So it was. I've heard that they're starting to make some planes where you can maybe stay in your chair.
Mm-hmm. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
The last thing that we're going to touch on was traveling in a train. I really can't even remember that hardly.
Yeah, we called it Plane Trains and Automobiles for kind of a play on the movie. Cody rode in a train one time when he was in grade school. It was like an Amtrak field trip. They I think went from Taylor, Texas to Temple, Texas. I remember riding on a train only one time, and it was like a classic antique train ride, somewhere around Rockdale, Texas, I think. So we don't know a whole lot about trains, to be honest with you.
And I wasn't in a wheelchair or anything at that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't no problem. I just remember how smooth it was.
But yeah, we that's a lot of our experience anyway with at least air travel and cars.
And so that is it for the first half of our discussion. We'll be back in just a second, and we'll continue this discussion.
And folks, we're back. We're going to talk a little bit more about travel. We're going to move away from the vehicles as much as just the experience of traveling and some of the things that we've experienced.
And I wanted to start the podcast off with just being on the road trip and the road trip part of it, just, traveling. There's lots of things that are challenges when traveling, as you'd expect with having a disability. The main I wanted to discuss what it means to being on the road for me. Rest stops, going to restaurants, and relieving yourself in the car, because sometimes you have to do that. We've traveled so many times. We go to Minnesota nearly every year, and we go to Dallas for doctor's appointments a lot. We live how far do we live away?
It's about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah,
about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it takes about 2.5 hours to get there, so that's a pretty good little trip too. And there's a lot that goes into it. Finding places that are accessible is the hard part. As long as you're in Texas, you can stop at a Buc-ee's and you're safe. You're gonna have good accessibility. But when you get out of the state, it's hard to find places sometimes to rest and whatever. And with what I have to take frequent stops. So it can be challenging.
We've come to find out, and if you talk to other people with a similar situation, disabled, you actually tend to look for a McDonald's. McDonald's always has a good handicap accessible bathroom.
Yes.
Or a Walmart.
Yeah.
Or something like that. You may stop at a big department store not to shop, but just because there's a good bathroom there. You stop at a gas station. Okay, it's gotten better and better over the years, especially if you stop at a newer one. But at the same time, you don't know. Sometimes we'll stop at a place and I will go inside and check out the bathroom.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that the bathroom is accessible. Because sometimes the bathroom says it's accessible. And it's just because they put a handrail in a regular bathroom stall.
It's not accessible.
So Walmart, McDonald's, just if you can find one of those, you have a good bathroom.
And then restaurants, it's kind of the same deal when we're traveling. And most of the time, we'll stop at a chain restaurant, but every once in a while there might be something else we want to try or whatever. And it's the same thing. We'll stop at the restaurant, and Daddy will go in to make sure that I can get in there good.
Yep.
Because some restaurants have a step in the front, or it's just too tight inside to get me in. So he has to do the same thing there.
Yep.
And lastly, I frequently have to use the restroom, especially on trips due to medicine stuff I'm on. And sometimes there's just not a restroom. And I have to actually use the bathroom in the car.
Which goes back to having a good handicap accessible vehicle with enough room.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do what you have to do, and luckily we got the ability to make that happen. And
I know it's not something you really want to talk about, but everyone asks me how I use the restroom, and I'm just going to tell you. When we're in the van, we have to stop, pull over on the side of the road. There's actually a sports water bottle we keep with me that I actually use the restroom in. We keep it in the bag on my chair, and we use it to use the restroom, and we do it in the van, and sometimes it'll be on the side of the road. If we happen to stop at a place and we're in the parking lot or whatever, you have to find a secluded spot in the parking lot, and that kind of thing. But that's how we do it, and yeah, because I know people ask all the time, and
it's not just in the van though. I mean, that's in a regular bathroom. You basically have to use a urinal to, because they're not getting out of the chair every time.
Yeah.
We can't carry a lift in the bathroom.
No.
So that's just how it works. You have to use a urinal and then dump that. So.
And then people also ask, how do you do it and stuff? Well, I need help with every part of it, so we'll just leave that there. I need help with everything when it comes to using the restroom. And people are like, well, how do you do this? And if you're in there by yourself, well, I can't do it by myself. There's no way. So.
It's just the way, just what it is. You do what you have to do.
And that's really it right there. I wanted to talk about also finding handicap accessible hotel rooms, which is really a pain in the rear. Yeah, Daddy's one that usually looks for hotels and stuff. So.
And we've looked out. They're getting more and more as they build newer hotels. They're thinking about that. If you're in an older hotel, you may not have it. Kind of going back to having a handrail in the bathroom. All of a sudden they call it accessible. Well, yeah, not entirely. If possible, we like to try to plan ahead. If we can find a hotel with like a roll-in shower is the most ideal thing. Usually those for bigger chains or something like that.
Yeah.
That can be part of the challenge, and even some of those bathrooms that are accessible.
Yeah.
It just depends on how it works for us. But it's definitely those things that we try to plan ahead. It's kind of hard just to find a hotel room on the go, on the road.
And we usually when we're traveling, we try to find a fairly decent sized city or whatever, because they have a good hotel room. But we go to Minnesota, like I said, nearly every year, and we go to a little bitty town, like a little bitty farm town up there, and there's really only one hotel there, and then there's also cabins that we stay in sometimes, but yeah, I can't take a shower in those places. There's just no way. It got so bad that we actually got the local nursing home and used it to take a shower.
There's things we've always say we take things one day at a time, and we do. We took a trip, and as things have changed and gotten more, I hate to say more difficult, but we've just had to adapt to different ways. We stayed in this little cabin. We thought, well, maybe we can make it work. Well, there just wasn't a way that we could use that shower. So luckily, this small town we were in had a nursing home, and they actually let us use a shower at the nursing home for a week that we were up there. And since then, we've gotten hotel rooms where we've actually made the bathroom work.
Yeah.
But one of those things we'll plan ahead even more, and hopefully have a hotel with a good accessible room, because it's kind of not the easiest thing to have to go in the middle of the night to a nursing home to try to take a shower.
And I wanted to move to traveling with friends. This is something I really have a hard time with, and having a vehicle to ride in. Whenever you're in our situation, you have a handicapped vehicle. The only way to get me around is in a handicapped vehicle. And, you don't want people borrowing your expensive handicapped vehicle either. So if I want to do anything with friends or anything like that, I have to be driven there. And then, and I ain't really going to talk about much of something maybe talk about later, but I have trouble with things, and that means your parents or whatever have to tag along the whole time, or an aide or whatever. And, your friends don't have a handicapped vehicle or anything, so you have to be driven. I went to prom in high school a few times, and we had to use our handicapped van, and we had to be driven and all that stuff. Of course, we decorated the van and stuff to make it seem more like you're going in a limo or something, but still, you had to use your handicapped van because there ain't any other way to get me where we're going. So,
adapt and do what you have to do. But it does add a little different experience because you don't just go running around with your friends somewhere. It takes a little extra thought and planning. They can't just come pick you up, to spare the moment and say, hey, let's go here or there, go ride around or whatever. It takes some thought, and it's just what we have to adapt to, and just something to think about.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in this discussion is the fact that I have an awesome sister that is willing to travel with me. She recently, a couple of years ago, got her driver's license now. And before she even got it, she was telling me every day, she's like, Cody, as soon as I get my driver's license, me and you are going somewhere. She kept telling me. And that's pretty amazing, Now my sisters are like, oh, I want my brother to come with me and we're going to go somewhere. Yeah, it's not very often you get a sister like that. And we did. As soon as she got her driver's license, we went to a city near Cameron called Temple, and we went around and enjoyed the day. And we've done that several times since then.
I wasn't there, but it's a Cody. They do have to plan ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Jenny doesn't do all the things that we do for Cody.
Yeah.
But they've gone out and had fun, run around. Jenny will strap Cody in the van, seatbelt him in. If they go eat out,
she'll help me eat.
Yeah, you can talk about that more.
And yeah, she helps me eat and everything. Of course, she's my sister and she has to pick at me. Usually if I go and eat with her, it has to be some sort of finger food, and it don't matter how big it is, it's going in my mouth. Just put it that way, which it works. It's just funny that's how it works.
But the downfall there is they do have to plan their trips a little bit because there are those things that we were just talking about that Cody needs help with that, hey, his sister's not going to do. She shouldn't be expected to do.
Yeah, she ain't going to help me use the restroom.
So, they have to kind of consider how long they'll be gone and how far they'll go. And
then we've had to end trips and come home because I've had to use the restroom. Yeah. There's not enough freedom when you just have to come home. We can't do anything about it.
But she is very helpful, and they've gone and done things, and again, it always just goes back to finding a way to do the things you want to do.
And so that's all we have for our discussion. We're going to move on to a couple of
we missed one thing,
fun segments
before we move on.
Yeah,
we've gone places, stayed in hotels, and you can't always take this lift with you or whatever. And honestly, a normal bed is not comfortable for Cody to sleep in. So he has slept a whole week in his power chair.
Oh, yeah, you didn't say that.
I just looked up and realized that. So, you go to a hotel and, hey, it's accessible and the bathroom's great and all this. But Cody, he can't just sleep flat.
No.
And he has an adjustable bed, and in order to be comfortable, he needs that. So, yeah, we fixed him up, and he has actually slept in that chair for a whole week.
So that entails me being in it all day long, coming to the hotel or whatever, and he takes a shower, taking a shower and getting right back in it.
Getting back in it.
I'm in it nearly the entire time.
Yeah.
So
of course, we do whatever we can to make it more comfortable. Pillows and blankets and stuff to relieve pressure. But yeah, just because you're in the hotel doesn't mean you're getting in the bed.
Yeah. So that really is all we have for our discussion now, and we're going to move on to a couple fun segments, and we will be back in just a minute. So, hey everyone, we're back. We're moving right into our Guess the Car Sound segment. The Guess the Car Sound segment is a segment I started where either I pick a car or my dad picks a car, and then the other person has to guess it. And so that's what this is. And this week it's Daddy's turn to provide the sound, and I'm supposed to guess it, and I don't think I won't be able to guess it.
We'll see. It is a short segment this time, but yeah, here you go. Just listen.
I don't know if I would guess. It sounds like it's diesel, whatever it is.
It's not diesel.
It's not. It sounds like it a lot through the sound.
Yeah, it's not diesel.
Okay. Does it have a turbo?
Not a turbo.
Really?
Nope, it's not a turbo.
Really, it don't?
Nope.
I'm not sure because it's whistling. I'm not sure because it's whistling.
Any. What kind of engine, if it's not a diesel, do you think it might be?
I don't know. It has to be a gas engine.
Okay, what kind of gas engine?
See, I knew I was going to be bad at this. I don't know.
Okay. So, do you think it's a V8, a four-cylinder, a V6, a rotary?
I would think it might be a V8, but because it sounds, like I said, it sounds like a diesel, but I'm not sure. It might be a small. I don't know. I really don't.
Okay. It is I think, a big block Chevy.
Big block, okay. Big block Chevy. Don't have any kind of boost whatsoever, does it?
There's a whistle. It's not a turbo.
Is it a supercharger?
It's a supercharger.
Is it a big supercharger?
It's a big supercharger.
Is it, I don't know if I want to guess.
Okay, listen one more time. And remember, watch how they're on the gas, off the gas, on the gas.
I don't know. I can think of supercharged cars, but I can't think of a reason why they're on and off the gas like that.
Okay, what if I told you I picked this one because it's one of your favorites?
Okay, I think I know what it is now.
Okay.
So, they're probably getting on and off the gas because they can't keep their tires on the ground.
Okay.
So, it's a good thought there.
That's a good thought.
So, is it Stubby Bob from Roadkill?
Stubby Bob from Roadkill.
Oh, it took me long enough to figure it out.
And the only video I could find with just that little clip was on YouTube. Not YouTube, but Facebook. So it's a Facebook video on the Roadkill page. Because everything else was kind of hard, and I couldn't actually even find it on YouTube.
See, the reason why I thought it was a diesel is because of the whistle. It sounded like turbos. And through the headphones, it sounded more like turbos than a supercharger. So
yeah.
I wasn't sure. But as soon as he said supercharger, I knew it had to be some Roadkill car. Before you told me it was my favorite car, but I couldn't figure out why they'd be on and off the gas because they're always in it on that one.
Yeah.
Is I thought it was the Impala from Roadkill, but they don't get off the gas in that one.
Yeah, well, I wanted to pick something that I knew you liked, so. So that is the Guess Our Car Sound. We'll have another one next week, and next week Cody will pick one, and I'll try to guess what it is.
Okay, we're back with the next segment. This is the Friday wrap-up segment where we discuss where we've been and what we've been doing. And last week it was kind of long because it's been a while, But this week it's going to be pretty short because it's only been a week.
So it's been a weekend. We've been doing what most everyone else has, is social distancing and staying isolated in place as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we did get out on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Got to go see grandparents. We haven't actually spent any time around them since all this started. So we still kept our distance. We actually sat in the yard, had a nice visit for a couple of hours with all of Cody's grandparents. My mom, my wife's mom, Cody's mom's mom. So we had a nice visit, but we didn't touch anybody. We were trying to make sure everyone's safe through this.
Yeah, over 6 feet apart.
Yeah, over 6 feet apart. That's probably the biggest thing we've done in the past week. Other than Cody finished finals for college.
Yeah.
And
I only have one more class left, and I'll be graduating with my associate's degree in web technology. So
not much happening because of the isolation, quarantines. But hey, we got to go see some people on Mother's Day, and Cody is one class away from being wrapped up with college. So, good things happening anyway.
So that's all we have for the Friday wrap-up segment. And
be sure you follow us on Facebook at Project Maynard Thing, Instagram at Project Maynard Thing, on YouTube by searching Project Maynard Thing. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and then you can also find Project Maynard Thing on Twitter at Project Maynard1.
And I've been really working on my YouTube channel, and I'm trying to get more people to subscribe to it. So definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't care if you don't watch a single one of my videos. Hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. Yeah. But go back and check the videos. There's some really good ones out there.
So that's all we have for you this time. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.